He's back to number 2 in the world according to the live rankings, but will Vladimir Kramnik's team be able to hold on and win first at the Russian Team Championships? Plus, we have 2 more Super GMs moving on to the next round of the strongest online chess tournament ever. Peter Dockers joins us in featured news to tell us who they are and how they did it. Finally, Pink. That's right, the pop star Pink plays chess in her new music video. We try to make sense of it all in social channel chatter. It's ChessCenter. We're here for you. We do it for you. Let's get started. Well, if you weren't surprised to see baseball and chess being talked about together by Mark Saxon on ESPN.com, then either you're psychic or have just been waiting for baseball players to figure out that chess is the key to their success. Sean, when I looked at this article, I was kind of shocked, but excited, of course, to see the Cardinals using chess as a way to, I guess, get their players thinking strategically. Maybe that's the goal behind manager Mike Matheny's approach here. What did you think?
Well, I don't think you can put a price tag on team cohesion. And I think that playing and sharing a game like chess is going to help out his locker room in that way. You've got Diaz and Pena, we are told, are 2 of the best chess players on the team. And I think that that allows the rest of their teammates to look at them in a different light. And for that reason, I think that the chess is a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it would be an interesting team-building exercise if taken from that approach. The article suggests that Mike Matheny picked up chess as a way to try to actively battle Alzheimer's, given that he suffered so many concussions during his years as a major league catcher. So it's cool to see Mike Matheny bringing his love of chess into the locker room, and maybe it'll help the Cardinals get their season going, as right now they're only hovering at about 500. So we wish them the best and look forward to more articles, maybe if they do well this year, on how chess helps them to right the ship in St. Louis. Peter Dockers joins us for featured news after having traveled back in time to a nice old portrait of Amsterdam, his home city. Peter, what do you got for us?
Hey Danny, well, besides a new background, I got some good stories this week about some events actually held on our very own server. The Chess.com Grandmaster Blitz battles are well underway. And well, last week we had one between Hikaru Nakamura and Pentala Harikrishna. Nakamura won this one convincingly 16-9. And well, that big score was mostly achieved in the bullet section, of course, where well, Hikaru, we all know he is an absolute bullet legend. And he showed it again in this match. And well, it was interesting to see. For the first time, we had cameras on the players almost all the time. And well, Hikaru was always showing his famous facial expressions. Mm-hmm. While Harikrishna, well, he was really calm and almost not moving throughout the match. So very nice contrast there. And he played really well. But yeah, Nakamura is just too strong in these fast games.
Yeah, it was so fun, in fact, that people were convinced the camera might have frozen on Hari. That's how still he was. Yeah. And I understand in the match that took place this week, we had a little bit of a similar contrast between MVL and Caruana.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost the same score, 15.5, 9.5 for MVL, Maxime Vassiligrav. Very big score also, and also mainly scored in the bullet section, which was won by the Frenchman 7-2. And well, that was actually a pretty good score on the 5 and 3 minute games for Caruana, who is not supposed to be a very good blitz player, but he was in excellent shape actually, especially at the start. He won his first 2 games, and the lead grew to 3 games at some point. But yeah, at some point there were mistakes for back and forth, quite a few blunders actually in this match, and well, in the long run, MVL was clearly the strongest, especially in bullet.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to keep that trend going and not get run over himself by Nakamura in bullet, as they are now paired in the second round. Speaking of running over people, Vladimir Kramnik has had an incredible tournament at the Russian teams. And give us the update on where he now stands in the live rankings and how his team finished there.
Yeah, Vladimir Kramnik did excellent in the Russian team championship held in Sochi last week. He scored 3 wins and 2 draws. Very fine score, which actually gained him 11 ELO points. And he's now world number 2 again with 28-12, which happens to be the last rating of Garry Kasparov. And well, his team Siberia didn't do so well. They finished in 3rd place. The event was won by St. Petersburg, led by Peter Sviler, who only scored 50%. But their board 3 did really well. Bu Jiangji from China scored 5.5 out of 8. And in second place, Moscow. And that team, led by Jan Nepomniachtchi, did well because, well, Nepomniachtchi, he played really well, 5 out of 7, and, well, scored some very nice wins, especially with the white pieces.
He sure did. In fact, we'll be covering one of his best wins in Move of the Week, so fans can stay tuned to that. Everybody should stay tuned to the news that you bring us daily, of course, on Chess.com. Peter, excellent reporting, and thanks once again for joining us in Chess Center.
Thank you. See you next week.
Well, Ian Nepomniachtchi may have lost the battle of having too many consonants in his name, but he did win the battle on the board at the Russian Teams Championships, where we saw a game between two Russians, a rare thing apparently for that tournament. Here he played a mind-blowing move and a mind-blowing approach that may have refuted an opening in the process. Robert, tell everybody what that was.
Well, here it looks like black is a great position. Black is well developed, it's already castled. He has the bishop on g4, pinning the knight on f3, and everything looks safe, but not so fast. There's more than to the position that meets the eye. Bishop takes g5, bishop takes g5 is forced, bishop takes h7 check, a first sacrifice, king takes h7, and normally knight takes g5 check would be the important move, but here it doesn't work because of queen takes g5. But instead, the phenomenal shot, pawn to h4. If the bishop retreats to h6, knight g5 check comes in, and black is forced by queen takes g5, h takes g5, bishop takes d1, rook takes d1, and as we see here, white regains the piece and has a much better position, so black wasn't interested in that. Instead of bishop h6, black went bishop d2 check, but this was nothing. White, when queen takes d2, ended up a clear pawn and converted in smooth fashion.
Yeah, he goes on to win this endgame really nicely and puts on some good old Russian technique there, and just to back things up, because everyone loves seeing a Greek gift sacrifice and replay. This is not your normal go to Sacktown on h7. This had some preparation. Black has to be ready for the fact that he's going to be up a piece, but with nothing to do with it. And Nepomniachtchi really put on a show with this one. I don't think we're going to be seeing this opening anytime soon or later. And we tip our hat to one of the rising Russian stars there, and he tweeted about it, as we can see right here. So we love when players get excited about their own games, and we hope to see more games like this in Move of the Week in the future. Hey, wait a second. That's not Mike Klein. Peter, where's Mike?
Hey, Danny. Yeah, well, I think I just have to step in for him, and maybe also next week, because, well, our dear colleague is on a great vacation to New Zealand. I'm really jealous. But okay, let's move on to something more important. The other news part of ChessCenter, where well, the first story we will discuss is a mini match between China's #1 Ding Liren and USA #3 Wesley So. They played a 4-game match held in the Gulf National Forest Park, 60 kilometers away from Shanghai, China. And well, the match was with a narrow score won by Ding, 2.5 to 1.5. There were 3 draws. Ding drawing both his black games, playing the open Ruy Lopez actually, and he won one very nice game in a Catalan gambit, analyzed by our grandmaster annotator Dejan Boykov in our news report. So I would recommend checking that out, because well, the game had a nice novelty on move 17 and some very nice calculation by the Chinese player.
Definitely worthy to mention. Dejan's analysis really does some great stuff. Maybe Wesley's looking to extract revenge in the qualifier, where he now just recently registered for a chance to play Magnus. But let's talk about that later and instead move on to the other big event. Not major enough for featured news, but big enough to talk about Dmitry Andrekin's win at the Hasselbacken Open.
Yeah, well, Dmitry Andreikin, Russian grandmaster, 5th on rating in Russia, but very strong, of course. He was the top seed there in Stockholm in a brand new tournament, actually, the Hasselbacken Open, named after an old Villa Hasselbacken, which has been transformed into a very nice and luxurious hotel. He won that tournament together with Indian player Bhaskaran Adhiban. They both scored 7.5 out of 9. And Andreikin, yeah, we had the best tiebreak, Buchholz. And well, his win included a nice victory over Borki Pedojevic in the last round. But Adhiban, he won actually 2 very nice games in the last 2 rounds. With a knight sacrifice on f2 in a King's Indian in round 8 against Alexei Goganov. and then a crushing victory in the final round against Viktor Michalewski in a topical F3 Grutfeld, where he just prepared almost the whole game, and there were some fantastic checkmate variations which he actually showed afterward. So also it's something you can find in the news report, and a good win for Andrekin. But honestly speaking, I was a little bit more impressed actually by Atiban's play.
Well, Andrekin did cross into the top 20 for the first time in his career after that win, so we congratulate him.
Well, not the first time, actually. I actually checked that, and there was a few months between 2014 and 15 where he was also in the top 20. But yeah, he's back in the top 20. Is a good point to mention.
Yeah, well, good correction there of my stats. That's why we have you and Mike bringing the news reports to everybody, and I appreciate you filling in. We look forward to next week, and we'll see you then.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, Sean, here's what everyone's talking about this week as pop artist Pink released a new video, Just Like Fire, from the official major motion picture soundtrack for Alice Through the Looking Glass. And why is it interesting to us on ChessCenter? Well, she plays herself in a game of chess. You got little pinks versus big pinks, all kinds of weirdness going on. And my question to you, Sean, is it really obvious that it's chess, or is it so abstract, obviously being associated with Alice Through the Looking Glass, that maybe some will even confuse it for checkers or another random board game?
Yeah, I think it's very clearly chess, and I don't think we are in danger of anyone thinking that it's not. I think you have to be pretty well knowledgeable about the game of chess before you start to realize that Pink's interpretation of en passant is a little bit off. The fact that the board is black and white and the clear king and queen and even a bishop in there, I think is going to make it easy for any viewer to see that this is the game of chess.
Well, I hope you're right, but let's jump right to that and ask the viewers what they think. Leave a comment, let us know. Is it obvious that Pink is playing chess against herself, or is there open room for interpretation, or is Danny just crazy and it was obviously chess, and Sean's right, it doesn't matter if she doesn't really know how the pieces move. Let us know what you think. Check out Pink's new video where chess is featured, and we look forward to comments by our fans on all of the social networks. Robert, too many kids these days are all about the base, but you and I, my friend, are all about the blunders. And in this case, Gatakomsky delivered to us what we were looking for when he was unable to win a rook-up ending against recent winner of one of our GM Blitz Battles matches, Sasha Grishuk. Here, Komsky was white. You're not seeing things wrong. He is up a rook. Robert's going to tell us what he did and what he misunderstood about White's approach and why he didn't win this endgame.
Well, Danny, maybe God is listening to too much Megan Trainer and not doing enough Endgames Trainer, because here he started with king to b7, which looks natural, trying to bring your king back as quickly as possible. But this move actually helped black end in a draw. Instead, rook to b4, first protecting the f4 pawn, but that's not the important point. It's after h5, king b6, h4, king c5. We see the white king coming back very quickly. And now after h3, we attack the pawn with rook b3, king g4, and the very important move, pawn to f5. The idea is after h2, rook b1, if the king comes and supports the h-pawn, white's king comes in and gobbles up f6. Instead, after king takes f5 there, rook h1, king to e4, rook takes h2, pawn to f5, and now king c4. The king is back in time after f4, rook e2 check, king f3, king d3, and the white king is properly placed in easily winning position.
Yeah, and note should be that also if the king tries to come forward shouldering the king away, we can give this rook h3 check, and in similar ways, the king will either come around or over. I think the two major takeaways are the fact that in these endgames, it's not always how quickly your king gets back, which is why Komsky played this move, but getting the king back on the right diagonal, as you highlighted. And then, of course, this really key point about f5 being the intermezzo that forces this king to choose, so to speak, between the pawn or defending the lost king and pawn ending. So very well gone through, my friend, to show everybody how king to b7 did not win. The main point is that looks similar, but you'll find that just because you win this f-pawn with check doesn't mean it was the right pawn to win. You, in the end, want to be fighting against the f-pawn, not the h-pawn, which is what happened to Komsky. And so because of that, his king was too far away, unable to stop black from reaching the well-known theoretically drawn ending where the black king stalemates himself. So really good lessons. It might be time after the Russian team championships, which, by the way, you're no longer Russian, although half the players there aren't Russian anymore. We won't get into that right now. It might be time to cut that hair and to let go of some of these bad endgame results in the process. But if not, just keep it up, my friend, and we'll see you on more Blunders of the Week. He's the real McCoy. He's back to help me wrap up this episode of Chess Center, filling in for FIDE Master Mike Klein. The man downstairs, are you ready for that clock to start?
As ready as NF3, D5, C4.
Nice. Ho Yifan recently dropped out of the FIDE Women's Grand Prix cycle. Does she have a point about FIDE's dysfunctional system?
Absolutely. Ho Yifan is the women's world champion, and any cycle that doesn't take that into account, she should ignore. Danny, the top 4 chess players born after the year 2000 are all from the United States. What does this say about the future of U.S. chess?
It says it's bright, man. Put on your shades. Nate Silver's crew over at 538.com recently had an interesting article where they used the ELO ranking system, known to us for FIDE ratings, to tell us who the best MLB players are and teams are of all time. But what does this do for us as chess players?
I don't even know what the MLB is. Magnus teaches his manager a weird chess variant where knights become bishops and vice versa. Is there any chance we'll see this on Chess.com?
Not a chance, Magnus. I'll tell you who does have a chance to be considered the best Russian chess player in the world right now. That's Vladimir Kramnik. He's back to number 2 in the world, over 2,800. And I have a tough question for you, Sean. Would he have been Russia's best chance to battle Magnus for the world title in November?
Ask Gary Kasparov. Speaking of Karyakin, he's having a subpar performance in the Russian team championships. Is this going to continue, or will Russia rally behind him to right the ship?
Well, I don't think they'll have a choice, but with losses to Svidler and draws to the other 2 top Russians, he's not looking like their best hope right now. Hashtag eat your heart out, Putin. I'll tell you who ate up your appearance on this episode of Chess Center, Sean. That's all the fans. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next week.